Love's beautiful, but let's be real, it's not always easy. It can bring out our deepest fears, our strongest desires, and sometimes our most confusing patterns. Welcome to Love Better, a space for honest, soul deep conversations about relationships, attachments, and what it really means to love and be loved. I am Shasmin Bank, and if you've ever questioned why love feels so complicated, you are not alone. Let's unpack this together. Last week, episode 9, we talked about the 5 stages of a relationship. We went into such a deep dive into the power struggle stage. And as promised, this week, I'm looking at our attachment styles and how they show up in the 5 stages of a relationship. And then I'm really going to also focus a lot on the power struggle stage and what that looks like for people that are in an anxious and avoidant dynamic, because they're the most common couple to be able to get stuck in that loop, and they stay there for years and not even realize it. And then I want to be able to also really give you solid, honest tips and ways that you can grow, in and out of that power struggle stage, because I feel that the first thing we should understand and digest is there is no shame in recognizing that your relationship has probably hit a power struggle stage. And I just want you to keep in mind, people that are in a lot more of a stable relationship might never really feel their relationship went through a very deep power struggle stage, or actually even went through a power struggle stage. There's some couples that I've talked to that have said, oh, we've had disagreements and we've gone through some ups and downs, but nothing we couldn't handle. And the dynamic, and that's why the attachment styles are so important to understand, is the anxious and the avoidant, or the fearful avoidant and the dismissive avoidant, when they come together and they tend to really butt heads and they love each other. And I think that's the sad and beautiful part of it, because you see so many beautiful relationships ending, not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of capacity to understand oneself in regards to their attachment and how and why they behave a certain way. And then at some point, the lack of empathy of one partner to consistently stay in a cycle that is mentally exhausting and emotionally exhausting them, because they simply don't understand the why about how their attachment styles are not coming together, but keeping them more apart. So if we recap very, very quickly on the 5 stages of a relationship, it was the romance stage, we had the power struggle stage, we have the stability stage, the commitment stage, and the bliss stage. Remember that the rose stage is the romance stage. I like how I call that the rose stage. The romance stage is, the exciting, passionate, 2 people become one, you're just in this beautiful, loved up dopamine space. And what I love about Susan Campbell's work is she really focuses on the work never being linear, and this process not being linear, but more like a spiral, because no couple is going through the same journey. Not everyone goes exactly from the romance stage down into the power struggle, down into stability, commitment, and bliss. Each couple has its own journey, and that's something you have to be able to remember. The power struggle stage, just touch on it very gently. This is where the wounds of attachment come out and play out. This is where we experience deep confusion and the conflict arises. And now we're dealing with the real person, not the best version we showed up as in the romance stage. The stability stage, I feel, is now where I've seen people build a lot of respect. And this is where now safety and trust are really coming together beautifully in the relationship. And then we move into the commitment stage, which is the very human stage, the stage where both of you have really come together and you understand each other's needs, and you've learned how to be deeply vulnerable. You're more comfortable with vulnerability, expressing your needs. You're now in a place where now boundaries are not to keep people out. You don't have boundaries to threaten someone, but now you have beautiful boundaries in the relationship that keep you both safe within those boundaries. Then we have the bliss stage. And this is the stage which is literally sort of beyond your relationship. And the couple, to me, that really stands out and comes to mind when I think of the bliss stage is Tony Robbins and his wife, Sage Robbins, because you can see them live the bliss stage. You can see that their work is about giving together, and they're so passionate about serving, and they do it as a couple. They've taken the ups and downs of their relationship, and now they're infusing that love into other couples. So they're in a stage of their mature relationship where it's all about giving back. So that's really a couple that stands out to me for the bliss stage. And then obviously I've just had such a beautiful privilege to sort of witness their love live, to be able to see that it's so authentic and so deeply grounded. Now, as we look at our attachment styles in the different stages of a relationship, I want to be able to first start with the dismissive avoidant. So dismissive avoidant, they come to mind as honestly people that are extremely independent. And I really want us to have so much softness and so much understanding when we talk about any types of avoidance, because I already feel they're over ridiculed, and I understand the pain in which a lot of the comments show up. And we cannot dehumanize people because of how they grew up. It's horribly painful to see, and yet horribly painful to sometimes also be in a relationship with them. Both realities very much coexist. So when we're looking at the dismissive avoidance and we look at them showing up in the romance stage, and you think about somebody that's extremely independent, they show up really, I sort of say they're people who kind of keep dipping their toe into the pool and testing the waters and then pull the toe right out, because they're wanting that love, they're wanting that connection, they are wanting security and safety, but they don't really understand what that looks like. So in the romance stage, they sort of come in, very independently detached, and they are people that really need a lot of personal space because they've learned to feel very safe in their own personal space. So in that romance stage, anyone dating somebody that's dismissively avoidant, especially if you're anxiously attached, you're really going to see somebody that's very scared to be open and vulnerable. They sort of really enjoy the lightness, the ease, the fun, the flow of a relationship, as opposed to the leaning into a relationship. They're very much, let's hold hands from afar, but also let's not hold hands, because they don't really like the physical touch. They don't really like physical affection. They are the epitome of autonomy and independence. They are very, very, very emotionally withdrawn. It takes a lot from the person dating somebody dismissively avoidant to make them feel vulnerable and safe. They are definitely not that person you're going to date and, feel like they are dying to show you off. That's something I've heard a lot from some of the clients I've had is, I'm dating somebody and I want to show them off. I want them to meet my family. I want them to meet my friends, but they're showing me they kind of want to be in this relationship. They kind of don't. I can't really figure it out, but the love is there and they don't want to meet my friends and family. What do I make of that? And wouldn't it mean that if they wanted to introduce me to their friends and family, then we're taking the relationship to the next step? But they're not so keen in wanting to bring me into their world or open their world up completely to me. So they are very, very slow to pull you into their inner circle and their inner dynamic. And when you're sort of dating them, there's sort of people that they really meet their own needs if they're fully aware of their own needs as well, and they've paused to really think about what they need. They sort of get along in the relationship with themselves. So they don't understand somebody that needs to rely on them because they've grown up in a way that has been so painful and so lonely and so back and forth on love being available, affectionate being available, and then pulled away. So they do not understand why they have to take that effort to show up for anyone else when they've had to do that for themselves. So yes, if you're in the romance stage of dating someone dismissive, they also have the ability to really love on you pretty hard and then sort of pull away pretty hard or as hard. And it leaves people in the romance phase very confused because people dating dismissive avoidance will constantly go back to how great things were, the times that the dismissive avoidant opens up. When they're so deeply vulnerable, you are thinking this is a whole new person. Wow, they are soft and compassionate and they cry. But when they close up, it's like a clam in a shell. You are going to have the hardest time tugging and trying to pull apart that shell because they simply do not want to be seen anymore. Being seen in the level they opened up to you was already too much for them. So they are literally in a space of wanting this love, wanting to open up to you, but then just feeling unbelievably terrified by opening up to you at that level. So they have very low intimacy needs, and you have to remember they're not looking to rush and settle down. And it's pretty hard if they're dating somebody that's anxiously attached or even fearfully avoidant, because it pulls more in the anxious side of someone that's fearfully avoidant as opposed to pulling out more of the avoidant side of someone that's fearfully avoidant. So they're protective about their space even in the romance stage. Now, when you move into the power struggle stage with somebody that's dismissively avoidant, they are definitely somebody that shows up into the relationship very logical. So they view all connection, all love, all problems through logic. They are not somebody that lives in the heart, operates from the heart, or dives deep into their heart. Not meaning they are heartless. It just means it is safer for them to be in their minds because they can control that. They can control outcomes. They cannot control the outcome of vulnerability, or if they go very deep into vulnerability and it evokes vulnerability in their partner, they don't know how to handle that because that's not a place that they really sit with a lot of comfort. So they will run from conflict. And they are not the kind of people to come look for a fight and look to create a fight. They can very much sense the tension brewing. They can sense when their partner is very much off, and that makes them run even faster right back into that tight clam of a shell because they take that as constant failure, and this is why it's better to be alone. Being responsible for how someone feels and loving on them, and now having to go through a power struggle stage with them just feels too much for them. So they run from conflict and they tend to get more rigid with all the boundaries that they have up now because their boundaries are very much to keep people out. It's not about safety for both of you. So in the power struggle stage, dismissives will put up boundaries when things start to get hard to be able to protect themselves very, very, a lot more. And they tend to really value alone time. So when you're going through a power struggle stage, you got to remember this is the stage you want to lean on each other more. You want to come together to really figure out the dynamic between the two of you, and what's causing a lot of the conflict and the headbutting. But if you're with somebody that's dismissive avoidant, they are definitely um, more looking to spend more time alone, looking to enjoy their independence a lot more. And, they're looking at all the ways they can sort of disconnect. And this is all stemming because they feel very, very, very misunderstood by a lot of people. They feel that they come across as hard-hearted or heartless. And even though we're listing a lot of the facts about them, we have to keep in mind that they very much are people that do pause to cry and feel a void and feel sad. However, they don't go there. They don't deal with that. They're very much the person that in the power struggle stage, if you cannot make it through with the dismissive avoidant and you break up, they're the first person to feel, oh, thank God that person was so clingy, so needy. I have my apartment back. I have my space back. I can wake up when I want. I can do what I want. I can date who I want. I finally have the freedom to date again, to be again, to not be responsible for anyone but myself. So definitely a lot of heartache that comes out from breaking up with someone in the power struggle stage. But in the power struggle stage, being with someone dismissive, I want you to think about literally the person, the clam in the shell versus a fearful avoidant. A fearful avoidant kind of reminds me of a crab because they're just kind of, little feisty with their little claws, but then really cute with their little eyes popping out of a shell, trying to be vulnerable, but still got their little clams up ready to protect themselves. So dismissive avoidance, when they withdraw, they're literally like a turtle. Go into that shell, you can knock the hell out of it. It's not coming out if it doesn't want to come out. So being in a relationship with someone who's dismissive in the power struggle stage can really feel or leave you feeling that you have to be the person that compromises the most because you definitely have seen the parts of them that you love so much. And if you're anxiously attached, then you're not willing to let go of that love. You're obviously going to take it as a challenge to constantly pull out that part of their personality. So dismissive avoidance in the power struggle stage, they're going to move more into their independence and autonomy. And the hot cold or the extreme cold can leave people very, very, very confused. Now, if you're dating somebody, dismissive avoidant, you've gone through the romance stage, remember it's still going to feel not as warm, cuddly, and cozy. But you've got through the power struggle stage because many people last together with a dismissive avoidant. Just one person ends up feeling unbelievably unseen and exhausted in that relationship. If you hit the stability stage, you want to be able to notice that dismissive avoidance now, they're really going to show a willingness to work through commitment. They are going to enjoy the word commitment so much more. They're going to be able to put the word commitment and connection together. And this is couples that have gone through coaching and have gone through therapy and been able to work through conflict resolution. So the dismissive avoidant in a stability stage really show up very curious now. They want to grow in the relationship and they still will very much value being independent and holding on to that autonomy. But now it's not my independence and you're out there. They are open. Their boundaries have become porous to the needs and love that their partner needs. So they show up with more curiosity to see how they can satisfy their partner. And over here, you got to understand, because a dismissive avoidant is like a very slow burn, they're still probably not going to open up and express everything to you endlessly and be the most perfect communicator and still not withdraw or have little triggers that get them to pull away. But in the stability stage, they're very much going to show you a difference in their realizations and coming back to you as a partner and wanting to commit to you and wanting to see how you're feeling and talk to you about your emotions and needs as well. Then you move into a commitment stage with a dismissive avoidant. And here they are more attuned to being so comfortable and sit with your needs. And they are very, very committed to understanding their needs as well. They have made space for you in the relationship. So I like to think of it, I was giving a couple I was working with an example, and I was thinking, when you start dating a dismissive avoidant and you move in with them, they literally give you the drawer in the entire bedroom to put your stuff. And if you're dating somebody that's anxiously attached, they will literally pack up the whole wardrobe and live out of a suitcase, but make you feel so comfortable and give you all that space. So when you're dating someone dismissive, in the romance stage, they kind of let you use the shelf. And then when you progress in the relationship, they give you the drawer. But as you're hitting the commitment stage, they now are like in a space of, let us share equally. I want you to feel comfortable in this relationship. I want you to feel this is your space too. I want you to feel I am yours. I want you to feel safe with me. However, there will always be that little sense of them being able to run to their independence. But you have to remember now, when they've worked with a therapist, they've worked with their nervous system, they've worked through core wounds, they've worked with their limiting and negative beliefs. They're now sitting in a space, in a commitment stage, where they can catch and be a part of the loop when little things show up for them. So they are a lot more conscious to choose their partner despite how much they need to be very much alone. Now their partner is one with them. Now they are a couple together. So you will see that they will reach over for their partner. They're more attuned to when their partner's feeling down and sad. They are okay and comfortable to start conversation and be one emotionally with their partner. The bliss stage with someone that's now dismissive, avoidant, they finally view intimacy and sex as very safe, because normally people that are dismissively avoidant, they engage in sex literally with no emotion. They're very distant from intimacy. They're very distant from sex. It's not something they rush to. It's something more of pleasure. It's not about pleasuring the other person. It's not about growing with the other person. It's about control. So in this stage, they really view intimacy as safe, and they also view sex as safe. Their partner matters sexually as well. They're highly in a place to enjoy the peace of their own minds. And I would say here's where they have integrated heart and mind. They've integrated not living in the head, because as Tony Robbins says, you live in your head, you're dead. They no longer live in their mind. They move into the heart. They're able to trust to be in the heart. They're able to trust their partner will keep them safe, and they can keep their partner safe. They're able to really create safety and trust over here. So here they're really understanding themselves. They've understood needs matter in a relationship. They're okay discussing needs. That is me needing to have a sip of tea. I've been talking for the last 23 minutes. So that is about the dismissive avoidant. Now, let us go into anxious attachment, because I always feel like normally we're so eager to do anxious attachment because everyone's so eager to learn. But anxious attachment in the romance stage. Where are my anxious attachers listening right now? Because I really resonate and feel with this so much. And because I've learned to grow from anxiously attached to secure, I really get this stage and phase. And remember, there is no shame for the attachment styles we have, because they're not permanent. We're supposed to learn them. We're supposed to have empathy towards them. And then we're supposed to want, if we choose, and We invite our partners to then grow towards what a secure relationship looks like and how we behave in a secure relationship. And remembering that a secure relationship is all centered about understanding our nervous system and how we regulate our nervous system. And therefore, from a regulated nervous system, we learn how to respond more. We're not reactive. So, our beautiful, beautiful, anxiously attached people in the romance stage are literally ready to get married. They date, and if they feel that they found the one, they literally don't understand why it's taking so long to bridge this connection. They want to immediately feel safe in that relationship. They want to immediately feel, I'm putting my time here, I'm putting my love here, I'm putting my attention here. I'm probably also giving up on some friends, things that I would do with my autonomy on my own, and I'm choosing you all the time. So I want to feel and know that you choose me back. In the romance stage, they are romanced. Their rose-colored glasses are glued to their face because they only want to see you in the most beautiful light. And they are probably obsessed and very infatuated by the person that they're with. They have a beautiful trait, anxious attached people, to focus on the positive of their partner. They literally will always look at the quality time they can get from their partner, how much more time they can spend with their partner. They look at the beautiful traits of the partner. They are literally in idolization of their partner. They literally put the person on a pedestal, and they're literally the people at the base of that pedestal with rose-colored glasses looking up at this person thinking, how did I find you? How do I deserve you? They completely ignore red flags. They don't trust their gut in this phase. They don't listen to the gut saying something's not right. They don't listen to their gut saying, give the other person some space, take space for yourself. They do not listen to, don't dump your friends. Don't dump the people that care about you, and don't stop going on the trips and doing the hobbies that you love for this person. They will abandon self immediately. It's almost like an anxious person will come and say, at ease, at your service, what do you need from me all the time, 24 hours a day? I will be there. I can sleep on 2 hours if it means you want to talk to me nonstop. I will keep my eyes open. I want to fall asleep on the phone with you. They are hypervigilant also to what their partner's always saying, thinking, doing, the moves they make, how they breathe, how the partner wants to see them in the romance stage all the time. Like, you're dating this person, they want to be with you in the beginning, and then suddenly they want to do their own thing, or they're busy with work, or they do have a life before they met you. And the anxious person can't understand that because they think, but I've let go of my whole life. Yes, anxious people, I see you. I've let go of my life, my thoughts. I'm learning all about you. If they're in a cross-cultural relationship, anxious people will dive deep into, wanting to learn about that culture, wanting to look perfect, wanting to show their willingness, which is all very beautiful. So just remember, everything we're listing, even for the dismissive avoidant, these are beautiful traits that we have. And the point is to be able to work through the ones that are not serving people and not serving ourselves. So anxiously attached people in the romance phase sort of really will rush the pace of a relationship. They're not comfortable with take our time truly and get to know each other truly. And that being said, I might have some anxious attached people saying, no, that's not true. I was ready to take my time. You're ready to take your time at your pace. You're not ready to take your time if it means they need a day or two away from you. If they don't call you as much as you want, you're viciously texting, you will put your hands up in the air, stalk them on Instagram or Snapchat or the iMessage system, or whatever it is, you are watching their stories while trying to act so cool like you didn't. You will see their stories going up. You'll distance a bit, being like, oh, I'm so cool. See, the story went up like an hour ago and it took me 4 hours to, but you are going through high anxiety before that. You were probably calling your friends to check their stories to be able to tell you what's going on because they've not called you for a day or two, because that's the pace of a normal, healthy relationship where people can have autonomy and still be in touch with you in a healthy way, want to meet you in a healthy way, want to spend their time with you in a healthy way. But the one thing about anxiously attached people you have to realize in the romance stage is this is very much the stage you start to lose yourself to put this person first, put the relationship first. Now, when the anxious person hits the power struggle stage, this is obviously where deep, deep, deep wounds of abandonment will come up. Deep wounds of not feeling like a priority. I give the example so often, like when we're on a flight and they say, if the oxygen mask falls down, you put it on yourself first, even if you have a child, and then from that regulated state, you will put the oxygen mask onto your child or your partner or whoever else needs it. But very much for somebody in the anxiously attached relationship with going through the power struggle stage, they struggle with giving their oxygen away and then feeling that if you notice how brave and self-sacrificing I am, you will do the same for me. So this wound of not being a priority really triggers somebody that's anxiously attached, and it really shows up in this phase because they've literally made everyone else a priority but self. And this is in the power struggle stage where a lot of resentment starts to come up for someone that's anxiously attached, because you start to feel, but I haven't done all the things I wanted to do. My friends wanted to go on this trip and I didn't go for it so I could, be around you, or we could go for a trip together. And normally before you met this person, these were the trips with your friends you loved, or you loved to take these trips and do little things on your own, the walks you enjoyed on your own, the gym that you enjoyed on your own, the jog you enjoyed on your own. You enmesh yourself now with this person. So when you're in this power struggle stage, you're literally struggling like slime on a surface that's not allowing you to just peel off smoothly. It's really leaving parts of you stuck in ways that are detaching from you, causing you a lot of pain. So in the power struggle stage, you need deep, deep, deep reassurance and validation that you love me, you care for me. We've had a fight. This conflict seems to be going on. Are we okay? Are you going to leave? Do I threaten to leave? Because that's very common in the power struggle stage for the anxious person. The empty threats of this relationship's not working, I'm leaving, packing your bags, and then learning that there are all these painfully empty threats. Been there, so no shame in that. But you're really craving in the power struggle stage to understand your partner so deeply, but also feeling like you're met without being wanted in the same way, especially if you're in or dating somebody that's avoidantly attached. You are hyper vigilant even more at this stage. At this stage, you're geared to look for something wrong. If you feel something's out of line, you will go through their text messages, you will go through their clothes, their jeans, you will go through her handbag, you will go through her drawer, you will try talk to her friends to try catch her somewhere, catch him somewhere. You're hypervigilant to the relationship falling apart. You are terrified of the relationship falling apart. So as you tend to notice maybe now that the red flags are very much there, you are already too enmeshed and too invested in the relationships. In the power struggle stage, you tend to make so many excuses for the relationship. You have a wound around being ignored and not chosen. You cannot take rejection. And this really, really pulls you into a place where you feel, or brings out, I would say, a very controlling side of you in the power struggle stage. And the controlling side is the need for you to very much change your partner because you often feel so alone and so disconnected. So if you can change them and just get them to be who they were in the romance stage, then, oh my God, like if they just listen to me, I know. That's how anxiously attached people think. I know, okay? I know what's good for our relationship. If you do what I say, I can already see all your shortcomings. I can fix them. I'm in this relationship to rescue you. I'm here to save you. That's why I have not left you. And a deep fear for anyone that's avoidantly attached is the fear of abandonment as well. So the anxious person very much in the power struggle stage recognizes this in the avoidant partner. So they are there to say, hand on heart, I am going to be the most loyal person in your life no matter what. And I will tell you something, hands down, anxiously attached people are loyal to death. Like I've said before, when they penguin you, penguin meaning they pair for life, they are there to pair for life at the cost of not understanding their attachment style, not understanding their core wounds and limiting beliefs, and not understanding how to work with their nervous system and the anxiety that they're constantly living with to be able to move out of the power struggle stage. So either you have anxious people that run from conflict because they never want to be seen as the imperfect one, as the problem one. They don't want to be seen to rock the boat, to ask for too much, to be too needy. And this is, by the way, a very big mistake anxiously attached people make in the romance stages. When you're dating, you play cool to be cool. When you know you're needing more and you rather be very honest in the romance stage with somebody about what you want and very direct with what you want, but you're so terrified to rock the boat and be needy that you're almost the cool boyfriend or the cool girlfriend. And the person you're with is just like, oh my God, this person's so easy. And you're there, like, I'm easy. Yes, I am. But your whole nervous system is like, oh my God, no, please don't leave me. Please don't walk away. Please, when you get into the car, could we call? Could we be texting? Could we fall asleep, with our phone lines on? I want to go into the shower. I want you right there on the phone if I'm not physically with you. So in the power struggle stage, the anxious person either runs from conflict or gets fed up of conflict because they're always looking for connection. And the mistake in the power struggle stage anxious people make is they find connection negatively. They find connection with conflict because if we're not fighting, you're distant, you're withdrawn. When in the power struggle stage we start to scream, shout, fight, pursue, chase, then there's connection. Then I've engaged you. I've piqued your interest, even though it's completely negative. So that feeds the anxious person to be or to mistake that as love. And very often if they're with somebody fearfully avoidant and the anxious person, shuts down, gets cold in the power struggle stage and says, I'm absolutely done. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Then you're very much going to pull on the anxiety of the fearful avoidant because they're going to turn around and be like, damn no. And that's when they start to pursue and chase you. And now your body's gone into fawn and exhaustion and tiredness. And, you move into flight and your partner moves into, no, I'm going to fight for you. Unless you're with somebody that's dismissively attached and they, at some point with too high conflict, will say, I'm done, I can't, I'm out, goodbye. And they have the ability in the power struggle stage to cut you out and move on. That leaves people with their heart bleeding, in shock. How could they? How do they just move on? How are they dating somebody else? The pain of everything I taught them or went through with them, are they going to do for the other person? So power struggle stage is definitely very tough for the anxiously attached person, and yet they have the resilience to go through a power struggle stage for years because they are not giving up on you. So it's like kind of like in Friends, if you think about when Phoebe was like, you just kind of find your lobster. Anxious people want to find their lobster. It's fine to claw each other. It's fine to withdraw. It's fine to lose a sense of myself. But as long as we're together, as long as no one's breaking up with each other. So they can make excuses for the deepened happiness, because in the power struggle stage, anxious people can very much tend to judge themselves and live in so much shame with, what's wrong with me? Why do I do this? Why do I behave like this? Why can't I just get my shit together and love on this person the way they deserve and I deserve? So it's a very, very, very hard place for someone that's struggling in this stage. And the stability stage. Now, as a couple, you both work through it. How does the anxious person how does the anxious person show up in the stability stage? Now, here they are finally starting to build trust and rely on the trust and feel the stability and connection. They strongly can put up very healthy boundaries because they're starting to get a sense of self. And now this is all meaning you move from the power struggle stage because you've gotten help. Okay. So you very much have or understand you have a voice. And if you're listening, I don't know if you actually think about, there's a song in Aladdin, Speechless. And every time I hear that song, I always think about people that are anxiously attached. And then when they bloom, they sort of represent that song where they will not be silenced anymore. And they found their voice. And because they have really connected to self, reassured self, found deep validation, they've worked through their core wounds and their limiting beliefs about themselves. They've worked on inner child. Now, when they put boundaries up, it really stems from self-respect. It stems from understanding your needs really matter. And you're very much in a place in the stability stage of, the person that wants to be with me for who I am, great. I want to be stable and love on this person. So you've got a very deep respect also for your autonomy, wanting to get things done, not raising the bar high and making it endless to meet. You have gotten so much better at self-soothing yourself and nourishing your nervous system and not having to rely on co-regulation with your partner. You can very much self-regulate and find joy in the stability stage of doing things for yourself and on your own. In the commitment stage, the anxious person really shows up with so much peace and balance, such deep, beautiful acceptance of themselves. And when I say acceptance, I've also worked with people that when they reach a point in this commitment stage where they feel the acceptance of who they are, the acceptance of, my needs are beautiful and they're so worthy of being met by somebody. They are so worthy of being nourished and being seen by somebody. In the commitment stage, the anxious person has no problem being the forefront of the relationship as well. They don't need to hide away. They're not there to fix, save, and rescue. They are not looking for, or they're not in that relationship anymore as, this person's my better half. They are really looking for somebody that's also complementing them. They are whole and they want someone whole too. They are whole with imperfections and they want someone that's whole with imperfections as well, willing to grow. And obviously the bliss stage means it is a place where it's so realistic, it's so grounded. And like I said, truly a couple again that I think of as Tony and Sage Robbins. Very together. Their energy goes outside the relationship. They are committed to giving back, to helping to heal, because anxiously attached people really are all the self-help junkies and they do the work so diligently. And when they do the work, they have such deep compassion to want to help other people. in the same space. So it's really, really beautiful to be able to see somebody that's anxiously attached really move so beautifully in that space. Now, our beautiful, fearful avoidance romance stage, I would say they literally view the romance stage as it's blissful because fearful avoidants have this beautiful blend and mix of avoidant and anxious attachment. So they are very terrified of rejection, just like the anxiously attached person. They can show up in the romance stage with a lot of jealousy. They definitely are the charming, the risk taking, the daring, the fun, the oh my God, you're the opposite of my quiet nature sort of a person. They can spin your world around. They're full of surprises. They are so romantic. Fearful avoidance gift you the rose-colored glasses, literally, because they are so deeply wounded that they do want to be seen in that way. They want to be seen for who they are, that they cannot accept and see themselves, which is somebody that craves love, wants love. They're not deeply fighting for their independence, but they really value their autonomy. In the romance stage, they come in with mixed emotions, but are also very much show up in the stage as all in, wanting to be with you, not confused about that. And that's what leaves people very confused later on in the anxious avoidant dynamic, is because in the beginning everything was so perfect. They called me more than I called them, and I'm anxiously attached. They wanted to spend so much time with me. They wanted to be around me all the time. Like, I don't get what went wrong, because the fearful avoidant has a deep need to want to be seen and want to love. That's why they very much attract somebody that's anxiously attached, because anxiously attached people have this beautiful ability to really have empathy and compassion to seeing the other person. So those rose-colored glasses are with a lot of empathy and compassion and warmth and, admiration. So fearful avoidance, that's why they get very confused for people that are narcissistic, but they're not, because they have a mask on. And in the romance phase, the sex is great, the connection's great, the warmth is great. It feels so effortless. And they are very, very passionate. And they have this deep desire to be so close to you. But then at the same time, you'll start to see that it triggers their distance as well. So because they're terrified of you rejecting them, so they're terrified of letting you in too much, and yet they have the ability to really cry, and they have a deep sense of empathy towards what goes wrong. They are very committed in their hearts. They're just very conflicted with why their mind does the things that it does. In their hearts, they are in love. They do love you, but their mind takes over with, no, 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 no. We create safety. We have to create the safe space. And the heart is being too vulnerable and will let too many people in and will get hurt, because we cannot trust safety. So you sort of live in a relationship with them in the romance stage that's very hot and cold. And when it goes cold, it really leaves you iced out. And then when it's hot, the love is strong. It's right there. They suddenly get you again. They feel you again. You're thinking, oh my God, this is the person. So in the romance stage, you're really going to feel the whole roller coaster ride with them. Now, when someone fearfully avoidant gets into the power struggle stage, this is where they really deactivate. Their nervous system shuts down because their intense insecurities will come up. And they also have such a deep need for reassurance and such a deep need for validation. And that's why in the power struggle stage, they butt heads with criticism. They cannot take it. They view everything as criticism. They view you talking about your need as criticism. And that's why they will spin it onto you, can come across very manipulative, can come across very controlling. And they have the best ability to deflect and to literally become extremely defensive. So the power struggle stage with a fearful avoidant can be exhausting because when they're, deflecting and deactivated, you cannot reach them, and there's a loud noise in their mind against you. They build up this story against you to pull away from you. They make you or see you as somebody that's the enemy. You're too needy, you're too clingy, you're insensitive to how much they do for you, how much they did do for you. So when they pull away, it's pretty hard and very tough. And you know fearful avoidance in the power struggle stage tend to run away and move more towards an addiction that will tend to come out a lot more. Something very common is the use of pornography or the use of drugs or the use of alcohol, anything to numb out how they feel. Smoking weed, something that just gets them, you know, out of their head as well and not focus so much on the problem. And it keeps them out of their heart because they're terrified of the vulnerability in a power struggle stage. It just doesn't seem safe. And you can have somebody that really grew up with maybe, let's say, sisters that were always screaming and fighting with the mother, or the mother always screaming and shouting and fighting. And they grew up noticing conflict was loud and made them feel insecure. And so when things get heated up with somebody that could be fearfully avoidant, that could have grown up with that kind of a setting, they run from conflict because they never saw it get resolved. They saw it as painful. It's loud. It reminds them, it triggers, it like nails on a board towards their nervous system about their past and how they grew up and how conflict was just something that they hated or could hear from their bedroom. And they learned that the only way to survive that was to shine in business or with a hobby. So you'll see in the power struggle stage, avoidance will really move towards something they can succeed in because they feel they're failing the relationship. They don't know how to make the relationship work by tapping into their hearts. So they will now become extremely successful in business with their career, extremely successful with friends at a very arm's length connection. They don't have deep connections with friends and family. And they have this deep fear of, losing self while also really craving connection and reassurance. So they don't know when to trust it. So they have this internal conflict constantly going on where they want you, they love you, and then they're hitting themselves on the head with, why have I deactivated and pushed my partner away? So you will see them really, using conflict to disappear, to distance, to separate. They are the people when, dismissive avoidance, when there's conflict, they're out of there for like days. They won't talk to you. You'll have fearful avoidance that can very much stay in a relationship for years, but they're emotionally not present anymore. They have deactivated, they're emotionally out of there, even though they're physically very present. So they are also, at this stage, they come across very insensitive to their partners and what their partner needs as well. What they need, they've never stopped to think about what they need in the relationship. So intense wounds and insecurity come up in the power struggle stage for anyone that's fearfully avoidant. Now, you work through that, you grow, you get the greatest therapist and a good coach, and you hit the stability stage. And here the drama starts to really fade away. And they literally are able to trust their partner, and they're really committed to the growth of the relationship. They don't know how to do it as well as someone that's anxiously attached, but you can see their commitment to showing up for the relationship. They're trying to be better listeners. They're trying not to interrupt. They're trying to hold on to that voice in their head that says they're criticizing you, to be like, no, my partner's not criticizing me. They can see their triggers of needing to pull away and look for space. They can see and resonate with the story they created very much about their partner. In the power struggle stage, that's no longer true in the stability stage. The story of my partner doesn't care about me, doesn't want good for me, wants to control me, wants to put me down. Very much in the stability stage, they have created a new story, a healthier story about, their partner being invested in them is because their partner truly sees them and loves them and just wants the best for them in the relationship. So they really learn to trust the commitment in that relationship. They also, at this stage, really beautifully, articulately have learned to communicate feelings and their needs, that of theirs and their partner. Because in this stage, believe it or not, fearful avoidants that I've worked with really in this stage tend to go in an overdrive to want to understand their partner's needs. And I have to remind them, what are yours as well? You have to be able to communicate your needs too, because they can go into now the over people pleasing. And this is probably because the power struggle stage probably almost ended a relationship that they really value. And now they want to really hold on to that relationship and show up beautifully. So they're very open now to therapy and help. They feel very safe in that relationship. And literally, as the drama has faded away, the emotional stability has come in. And they are more open to wanting to grow emotionally as well and take lead, especially if they're with someone that's anxiously attached, who obviously is the self-help junkie. Now, the avoidantly attached person wants to learn what the anxiously attached person knows as well. In the commitment stage, they choose their partner. They finally are showing up in that relationship very conscious to do the work, conscious to understand a relationship's going to be very complex, conscious to consider their partner and their partner's needs, completely committed to any threat that can come up in the relationship. They have the beautiful tools and ability to navigate that as opposed to running away and needing space or making the partner wrong. They now find such a beautiful level of independence and wanting to be with their partner. So they're not running to just be independent. In fact, we teach fearful avoidance the importance of having to co-regulate a lot more, while we teach anxiously attached people how to self-regulate. So here they really do look for their partner, and it's so sweet to be able to see they want to reach out and they've got more confidence to communicate, and they're so beautifully open to their partner's needs. And I'm telling you, when someone who's fearfully avoidant reaches the stability and the commitment stage, they're probably the most sensitive, wonderful lovers you can have, because they're now starting to practice secure skills. So their open heart really resonates and creates so much warmth. And they now have an ability to understand conflict, feel safe in conflict, and know they have the tools to navigate conflict. The bliss stage with somebody that's fearfully avoidant, it's almost a feeling for them. They are deeply connected to their partner, deeply connected to themselves. There is deep trust in themselves to not go astray in the relationship ever again with themselves or with somebody else. By this stage, they've probably worked through deep levels of infidelity that could have been created in that relationship. And now there's a whole new beautiful meaning to love and connection. I don't know why it's making me think of Aladdin again, which is, it's literally like a whole new world for them, a whole new world of safety, a whole new world of being present to themselves, a whole new world of putting their needs and wants in front of the relationship as well. So it's really beautiful to understand how we handle, the power struggle stage, because we want to be able to really know that we come into a relationship to empathize with our partners, to understand our partners, to learn to express what you really want in a relationship. And remember, that's not going to come up until you get into the power struggle stage. And now, like I said, it doesn't mean you go through each stage this way. Sometimes some couples could have, hit a beautiful commitment and they've had such a beautiful relationship or a beautiful marriage with children, and then there's infidelity. And now they go through the power struggle stage and they're thinking, how did we get here? How did this happen to us? We were okay. I don't understand. So it doesn't mean that this is the flow. It's just a beautiful way to be able to move through the relationship. So I had a few questions from some people that said, you know, one of the people that wrote into me, they said, how do we handle the power struggle stage as a couple? So I'm going to give you a lot of tips towards the end of that. So stay tuned for that. But, how do you handle the power struggle stage as a couple? I would say two ways, individually and together. Because a lot of the times in the power struggle stage, you don't always have the other person willing to want to work on the relationship. It truly does take one person to lead fiercely with vulnerability. And that can only come when you've understood your attachment style as well and been able to really work your attachment style down to your nervous system. That's what's so important, because we think that we can work our attachment styles through these little posts we see on Instagram and putting them into action. If your nervous system's not aligned with what you're trying to do, is not feeling safe in a relationship, it's not going to work. So you handle power struggle stage together or independently by doing the work. Somebody else said or asked me, what are we both looking for as a couple at this stage? Now, that's a very interesting question, because if you're still together in the power struggle stage and you are asking that question, it very much means you're both looking for yourselves and yourselves individually. You're both looking to love better in that relationship individually and together as a couple. You're both looking for safety. You're both looking for empathy and compromise. You're both looking to want to create a relationship that leaves you both feeling seen, understood, and wanting to continuously fill the other person up. So what are you looking for at this stage is literally home. In all the chaos of the power struggle stage, you're looking to just feel at home again in the other person and within yourself. It says, at what stage will attachment style be triggered? Most definitely, it can be triggered in the romance stage, where you can withdraw and feel you're being too much or you're being too little, and it can definitely erupt in the power struggle stage, because this is now when someone's literally scratching at your wounds, and only intimate relationships will do this to you. Even though we very much experience attachment styles in our friendships, but your intimate relationship will really trigger your deep wounds and the deep work that goes into the power struggle stage. And I think the word power struggle makes it seem so dire, but it really is like this deep mirror. And at that stage of your relationship, it's almost calling you to deeply reflect on who you are and how you show up into that relationship that serves you and the person that you're with, and eventually your extended family that you get to create together as a couple. Can one partner transform the relationship? Yes, absolutely, 100%, if they have the right therapist or the right coach. You can definitely transform the relationship if you also do some of the amazing courses out there. I'm personally also working on creating a Healing Your Attachment, Anxious Attachment Style course at the moment, so I can't wait till that's out. But with the right course as well, and doing the course at your pace, you definitely can transform the relationship. Now, why is that? When one of you decides you've had enough of being in an insecure attachment style, you definitely are empowered to want to grow for yourself. You want to heal that nervous system, heal the triggers. You want to start laying the right foundation for yourself in your own life. And when you start to do that, you will always only inspire people around you to want to change and grow as well. So I've noticed very much that one person growing will definitely change the relationship. It will either get the partner to invest in change and start to feel safer to want to grow as well, because one partner is getting more equipped with handling conflict. One partner is getting more equipped with not protesting, with not threatening, with not damaging the relationship. One partner is getting more equipped with how to show up for communication. And the other partner is only going to follow with wanting to grow in a safe space that you create as well for them. So either they will change and feel this is too much and I preferred you the old way. And then obviously you'll make the decision if you want to be held down or you want to be with the partner that wants to grow with you. Can one person transform the relationship? 120% yes. The most important relationship to transform is the one with self, which will inspire the relationships around you. Another beautiful question I got was, at what point in the power struggle stage do I call it quits and there's no return? And this is very much when that situation gets tough, gets shameful, gets abusive, gets toxic. The other person does not want to listen. They don't want to work on the relationship with you. They don't want to change. They are stuck in their ways. The relationship is keeping you down, is not helping you grow. You're finding yourself feeling suicidal. You are exhausted being in that relationship. You're in that loop, and you can go back to some of my old episodes that will be able to help you if you're in that loop as well. So there's definitely an advantage to therapy and coaching in the romance stage, because I feel it's beautiful to start therapy when you're dating and have the tools and tips to take you through everything you're going through with somebody that's very experienced and can lead you into the commitment stage with both of you feeling we are ready for this as a couple. We can anticipate what could come up. We are in therapy together early so that we don't get into therapy when things are just so bad and one person has checked out of the relationship. Now, I know, guys, I'm an hour, 6 minutes in, but tips and ways to grow in the power struggle stage. Number 1, you want to practice empathetic listening. You want to really show up with curiosity towards your partner, their needs, and your needs. You want to step into the fear of understanding what your core wounds are. You want to move into what the limiting relationship beliefs are that you have built and learn where your nervous system naturally lies. Does it sit in flight, fight, freeze, or fawn? And most commonly, you will definitely move through all of these, but you want to be able to truly understand your nervous system, the baseline of your nervous system. Do you sit in flight or a lot more and then will naturally move into, freeze, and then you get exhausted because the nervous system does, and then you fawn? Or, how does your nervous system work? That is huge to start growing in the power struggle stage, because I feel if you start to work with your nervous system, then you will be able to work with the triggers and the core wounds. You'll be able to see them so much better. Then you're able to be in a beautiful place to practice secure skills and showing up to that relationship so much more better. Then you want to be able to check in with your partner constantly. So I always encourage the people I work with weekly check-ins, and they don't have to be exhausted and drawn out. It's really showing up with the care to ask your partner, how are we doing? How are you doing? Are we okay? Did anything happen this week that you feel I could have shown up better to? Are we winning together? I would also recommend, date night once a month, and you hold out certain date nights for deep communication, checking in, monthly, as well as an overall, are we okay? I would hold a date night to really grow sexually, to work on what you both are looking for sexually, what sex means to different attachment styles, because they really, really, really are very, very different. So I will definitely look at attachment styles and sex. And then I would also look at a date night, to just be able to chill and relax, and on that date night really enjoy each other's company and where the other person is. So really showing up with so much curiosity about what they're doing during the week, what was important to them during the week, what did you miss out on during the week for this person, what did you miss out on during the month for this person in the busyness of our lives. I would also be very specific about the expectations and needs that you have. So, really getting comfortable with understanding what your needs are and then how to express what those are and how they can be met to your partner, and the expectations you might have with the realism of their capacity to show up in that relationship for you and meet those needs. Another one is literally self-assessment. So, being able to think about, when was I the happiest in the relationship, and where are you now? Where am I? What solutions can I employ to grow the relationship? Where am I not showing up right now? Where am I losing vulnerability? Where am I falling short on patience and communication? So really self-assess, wanting to see how you can show up better to your partner and really step into the power of responsibility and how delicious it can be to lead a relationship. Then I would say compromise. Compromise on the differences that you both have, the acceptance that you both are two very different people, not trying to force the other person to change. You want to always inspire someone to grow, but you don't want to force someone to change. So compromising on the things that the relationship brings. Also, what is the deal breaker? What are massive deal breakers? What's workable? So, for example, you could have a deal breaker for me is you leaving conflict unresolved indefinitely, you know, you walking out, you taking space, you leaving for 2 days. That's an absolute deal breaker for me. I'm not going to tolerate that in a relationship. But what's workable is us taking space to reflect on the conflict and to be able to come back as a team. What's workable is your way is needing time to process, and that's very much okay. But as long as we agree that we're coming back within an hour, 2 hours, then that's honored. So being very clear on a deal breaker and what's workable for you individually and as a couple. The other thing I'd really say is showing up with the power of intention, the power of intent. Starting to finally look at your relationship and your partner really from a place of the heart, pure intention, deep compassion, increase the emotional safety and intimacy you both have. Not showing up to the relationship with this person is viciously gunning for me. I'm with someone that hates me, wants to put me down. So everything they do is going to be stemmed from that viewpoint. But really softening and coming to the relationship to say they're showing up with beautiful intention, and their intent is always there. The intent is always positive, and the unskillful behavior is what we can start to work with, but never question intention. So it leaves you both, feeling like you're fighting, for both of you to be heard. You're fighting for both of you to be validated, and it means you're fighting for both of you to be seen. The other thing I would suggest is break the fourth wall in the relationship by being very inclusive. So something I beautifully learned and certified in conflict resolution last year was, in being inclusive, you turn around and think, and I'd love for you to write this down, which is, I am thinking, I am feeling, I am saying, I am wanting, I'm worried about, but they are also thinking, they are also feeling, they are also saying, they're also wanting, and they're also worried about. Both of us exist in this relationship, not just me. So if I'm thinking, feeling, saying, wanting, and worried about something, I have to recognize my partner is also thinking, feeling, saying, and wanting and worried about something too. We're just both probably unskillfully showing up for each other in that way, but we both have the positive intent of these baseline in which we feel. So you're really sitting in a place to just start to grow this empathy muscle about your partner, about seeing how they're a beautiful person, about reframing how you look at the things they do and the things that they say. I want you to stop looking at your partner to blame, shame, and criticize, but I want you to step into with a lot of deep compassion for your partner. So, for example, a lot of the conflict we could have is you never make time to listen to me. You don't take an interest in me or anything I have to do. You're not interested in the relationship growing. You spend all your time with, friends and your hobbies or anything else other than the relationship. I don't feel seen. Now, when sometimes we're trying to voice what we want, we're going to create opposition. It's not going to land with someone saying, absolutely, you're right. It's absolutely not. They're going to go in and defend their intent. Their intention was never to do that. So instead, you could try by saying, I'm really trying to hold on to being seen. I'm trying to hold on to feel important. I'm, needy in feeling this. It leaves me feeling so vulnerable. I want to feel that you're still in love with me, that you still want me in this stage that I'm in. However, I can see it leaves you feeling unappreciated, unseen, and exhausted and not enough with the way I communicate it. This is when I talk about leadership in a relationship. It seems like nothing you do is appreciated when I voice myself in the way that I did earlier. But in me being very vulnerable, I can now see how my deep, deep yearning for us to win, my deep yearning for me to feel loved leaves you in so much pain and leaves you feeling so unappreciated, leaves you feeling like you want to withdraw. And now I would invite you, the listener, to invite them into your world, which means when I'm looking to feel seen and loved, how does that leave you feeling? And invite them to open up to you. Invite them to speak freely about how a lot of times our deep yearning leaves them in pain. It doesn't mean that you won't get your deep yearning addressed. It just means you absolutely will get your deep yearning addressed if you hold space for someone and you don't villainize and annihilate them out of, their power to be able to show up for you. You can also validate them by saying, thank you so much for being so honest. It makes so much sense to me now why you pull away when I try voice something to you that way. Let us together find a way that I can feel seen and validated, get more time with you. I can feel full without you feeling unappreciated. Imagine how that lands for someone. Imagine how let us together find a way that I can feel seen and loved without you feeling unappreciated lands with someone as opposed to you do nothing for me. So I know you never want pain from me. From now on, I'm committed to doing whatever it is, voicing, communicating in a way that leaves us both winning. So these are some of the tips you can look at to be able to grow in the power struggle stage. And I know that this has been a really long podcast, but I really wanted to give it my love and I wanted to give it my commitment and my dedication because your time is so valuable. And if you're tuning into this podcast, you're tuning in to learn and then you're tuning in to grow. So I want to give you value where you can understand something, but then I want to give you something practical to be able to move with and grow with. So I know I actually honestly wanted to take you into somatic practices to help your nervous system, but I am going to leave the podcast here and hopefully pick some of the different topics up with you later on. And thank you so much, for tuning in, for listening as long as you did. And I know that wherever you are, whatever stage you're at with your partner, and if it's in the power struggle stage, you got this. The minute you understand them, the minute you understand yourself, the minute you show up with, your heart on your sleeve and so vulnerable, you will be able to transform that relationship. And remember, ultimately, we end up being able to love them and love ourselves better. Thank you for spending this time with me on Love Better. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who could use a little more love today. Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep growing together. You can find me on your socials, Instagram at @ShazminBank, TikTok at @Shazmin_bank. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and really connect with you more. Until next time, take care of your heart and remember you are worthy of love that truly feels like home.